Folks, welcome in the ring. A very good evening to each and every one of you. Happy Easter. Happy Easter, guys. How have you guys been spending that? A very good evening to each and every one of you. All right. I am having a slight problem. I'm going to try to adjust very quickly, and I'm going to be right back with you guys. Right back with you guys. Stay with us. Back, guys. If you're ready, we're readying ourselves at our end. Sorry about that. We want to make sure that we have good bandwidth and our audio is correct and everything else. So welcome. Sorry for that very, very short break there. And I'm going to be joined by a guest or two this evening. So we ask that you guys bear with us. And as we come on, we always say, share the live stream, whether you're joining us on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. Happy Easter to each and every one of you. Share our live stream. Quite a bit of information to share with you guys this evening. And we're happy that you all are here with us. As we hit that magic number, we are going to get right on the way, beginning with our hot topics, guys. Let's do what we have to do at our end. And then we are going to be joining you guys on the front end. So let me share a couple places as well as we start the program this evening. All right, so let me do exactly that. I hope you guys have had a quiet Easter holiday, especially at home here in Guyana. We know most of the parks and so on were closed today because COVID-19 is getting out of control, and so the government is now trying to pull things back. And we're going to try to help as much as possible and be responsible citizens, especially where COVID-19 is concerned, So guys, again, thanks for joining us from at home in Guyana and also in the diaspora. It's our privilege to have each and every one of you. And we're sharing the live stream at our end. I'm going to share a couple places, and then we're going to be back with you guys. Let me just share a couple places, folks, and then we're going to be back with you. All right, and you know, sometimes the phone works efficiently, and then some other times it's the devil's work. But we're happy that all of you guys are with us. Again, quite a bit of information to share with you guys. Quite a bit of information. All right, I seem to be getting somewhere. All right, waiting for us to hit that magic number, and then we're going to start things at our end. We're going to start things at our end. All right. So forgive me for a minute if I look a bit distracted. I'm trying to share and make sure that we are ready to go as soon as possible. All right, so bear with me there. Almost ready. Almost ready, folks. We almost at that magic number, and we're getting there slowly but surely. Just want to make sure that I'm set at my end. All right, I'm getting a couple challenges that I hope that I can work out the kinks. Couple challenges, not too many, just a couple. Should be good to go in another few. We're almost at a magic number, folks. And thanks for joining us in the diaspora, out of the diaspora, on Twitter, on YouTube, on Facebook. Subscribe, retweet, share the live stream. All right, I'm almost ready for us to do what we got to do. Almost ready, folks. Almost ready. All right. All right, all right. Good to see each and every one of you. Oh, we are almost ready. All right, guys. Good, good, good. We got to go now. All right. Again, good evening to each and every one of you, and welcome in the ring. Whether you guys are joining us on Twitter, Facebook, or YouTube, thank you so much for joining. And we got quite a bit of information that we want to share with you guys, and we want to get right to it. So let us start with our hot topics this evening. With our hot topics, and first and foremost, I want to say to each and every one of you that the Village Voice, has been published officially, and I have my copy. The Village Voice, it has been an online newspaper thus far, but last Sunday, yesterday that is, it became officially a printed newspaper as well, the printed version. And I went a little bit out of my way to make sure I got a couple copies, because I bought a couple copies for some colleagues of mine as well, and ensuring that I have the first copy of the Village Voice. And I commend this paper to each and every one of you. It's another avenue for valid and credible information. It's wonderfully laid out and printed. The information is very, very impactful, insightful, and very, very needed. And I am made to understand that Village Voice for now will be published every Sunday. So there are copies still on a few stands. I purchased some of the last copies by Big Market. I know there's a famous guy just kind of opposite or oblique to Demico, who sells newspapers there. So I picked up a couple copies, one for myself. I wanted to have the first edition, and one for some colleagues of mine. So let me see if I get it right. Yeah. So the Village Voice is officially a printed newspaper. And again, I want to commend it to you. And it's going to be available shortly at most of your newspaper outlets. So even if you have to go a little bit out of your way right now to purchase a copy, I encourage you to do exactly that, folks. I encourage you to do exactly that. Again, the Village Voice is out, and I spent most of the morning going through it, and very, very credible, valid information. It's good to see so many of you on the live stream this evening. Donna and Rhonda, Isola Allen, some of our regulars, ringsiders, Carla and Desiree Chapman, Colin Ridley, and all of you guys, Marla Aliquaka. A good evening to all of you, and welcome. Guys, I had such a great weekend. While you guys were out playing, I was working. And that being said, I want to give a shout out to the folks at Bartica. I had about 24 hours in Bartica. I spent Saturday in Bartica, meeting with members of the public. We went into Agatash, or as the Bartitians say, over to Agatash. When I heard the term over, I thought you had to go by boat for some reason to get over to Agatash. But it's just another part of Bartica, main Bartica, a part of the township. And so I want to give a shout out to those folks, and also the folks at Region 10, especially at Aichuni and Kokwani, where I spent Sunday again on the ground meeting with folks there. And we're tweaking a program, an in the ring town hall, because so many persons reach out to us as we were on the ground in Region 7 and Region 10, giving us good, what do you call it, feedback in terms of in the ring. And so we want to give a special shout out to all the folks of Bartica. I remember one of the name of the places I stopped in at Bartica for some refreshments, Paradiso. I had a great time at Paradiso, and there was another new establishment. The name is slipping me at the moment, but again, I want to recommend Paradiso. If you go to Bartica, you cannot go to Bartica and you don't stop in and have some refreshments at Paradiso, whether during the day or in the evenings. It's one of the hottest, newest places to hang out in Bartica, and I had a good time there with some colleagues after the work was through, and a great time in Region 10, as I said to you earlier, over the weekend, especially at Aichuni and Kokwani, where we were actually, among other things, we were installing one of the Kokwani Management Committee for the Alliance for Change, and I was happy to be part of that over the weekend and talking to countless folks, both in Bartica, Region 7, and also Region 10. Quite interestingly, folks, I spoke with some of the folks in Bartica, especially in the Agatash area, and I didn't like what some of them had to say to me in terms of the excesses of the fraudulent, installed, and illegal PPPC administration, and we're going to touch on some of that as we go through this evening's program. So, folks, let's get going. We see several news outlets following us. Several news outlets following us. About 2 weeks ago, we spoke to the fact that it's 8 months into the PPP's administration, their installed administration, and the Irfan Ali has not as yet engaged the public in terms of cabinet briefing and substantive press conferences. And we now see some of the other major newspapers and major news outlets are catching up to this. As a matter of fact, just this morning, Starbuck News, I think, dedicated their editorial to this very fact that what they condemned Mr. Granger for not meeting with the public, with the press often enough, they themselves have now been found guilty of even worse. 8 months in, and Irfan Ali has not had a post-cabinet press briefing. And so we understand why, because the fellow doesn't have a lot of content in and of himself. He's a big fellow, but he doesn't have a lot of content. He's very, very small on where content on substantive issues are concerned. And we've been showing you, we've been chronicling for you guys what has been happening in terms of his overtures to foreign governments. Every time he turns up, we see the puppet presidency at work. And so we see some of the media is now catching up to this and asking why in 8 months hasn't Irfan Ali had a post-cabinet press briefing where substantive issues, plans, and programs of the government is discussed, and contracts that have been awarded, questions can be raised on that. Why 8 months in? And these are the folks who talk about transparency. These are the folks who talk about accountability. These are the folks who talk about good governance. And 8 months in, a facility like post-cabinet press briefings have not been maintained. And they were under the coalition government. Every week after cabinet met and discussed national issues, you had a post-cabinet press briefing. So again, the question to the catfish installed administration is, why have there not been post-cabinet press briefings? And of course, it is anyone's guess as to why this has been the modus operandi of the installed administration, quote unquote, installed, according to the Human Rights Report coming out of the USA, coming out of America, installed administration. So we're going to continue to follow rather, how long is it going to be until we have a post-cabinet briefing? Mind you, a secretary to cabinet has not been announced as yet. A secretary to cabinet has not been announced as yet. And we understand that Gail Teixeira has been usurping this responsibility and this function illegally. And so we continue to watch that, and we're going to continue to report on it, folks. And now we turn our attention to some local government issues, some local government issues. And I told you earlier on about what transpired, some of what the villagers there at Agatash told me was quite surprising. Folks, you remember that there was a protest, a very organic protest in Region 7 as it concerns a CDC group, a Community Development Council group at Agatash. I think there was a neighboring community as well who were part and parcel of this protest. But it so happened that several persons were elected from or to the CDC. The PPP folks were not elected, and so the PPP sought to quash this group. As a matter of fact, they're still waiting on some feedback from the minister as it concerns Minister of Local Government, Nigel Daramlal, installed Minister of Government on this matter. But that is not what was surprising to me. Some members of this CDC are also community policing officers. It's a voluntary organization that falls under the Ministry of Home Affairs. Community policing groups, the organization, CPGs, fall under the Ministry of Home Affairs. Now, some of these members, as a matter of fact, the entire Agatash CPG, the entire Agatash Community Policing Group was asked to stop working. Why? Because some of their members, in their own time as citizens of this country, exercising their constitutional right, protested against what the PPP was doing in terms of the installation of its own members who were not elected to this Community Development Council. And I'm joined this evening by my colleague, Gavin Matthews. And I know Gavin is very, very strong on constitutional issues. And so I want to bring Gavin into the discussion at this time. I want to bring Gavin into the discussion. Ladies and gentlemen, Gavin Matthews. Gavin, how are you doing tonight, sir?
Well, I was a bit set back because I didn't know people see things different. So I was thinking about a lot of things. But one of them that struck me before I asked you to invite me on whatever topic you want me to speak on. I didn't even know that there was a kidnapping of a young guy at UG 2 weeks ago. The thing is that I was just talking to one of my colleagues that I'm not so how should I put it over abreast with what is going on now in Guyana, because my focus basically is on the constitutional matters that really, a lot of us are being blinded to. You understand that I don't really pick up the news or really go on Facebook and follow things up unless if somebody send it to me, then I may just read about it. So my apologies to those who are in the diaspora. And otherwise than that, I am strong. I see this that happened last night to me as a wake-up call to what I'm dealing with. And I must say this on your show, Sharad, that I'm prepared for whatever comes with it. This is my life. This is who I am. Go ahead.
Gavin, so let's talk a little bit about that before we come back to this matter with the Agatash CDC and CPG. Tell us a little bit about what happened last time, because we got some media audio that is via social media with you saying that you were, for the want of a better term, kidnapped by the authorities. Tell us a little bit about that experience.
I didn't say by the authorities. I said I was picked up and I was taken to a location. I didn't think I stressed much about the location. I stressed about the room in which I was. And I was waiting for whichever boss man to come around to say whether if I live or die. You understand? That was the whole episode. When how people feel about it, yes, I did have my cell phone on me. Yes, I made up about 1 million calls. The amount of people I called. You understand? Just to inform them what has happened to me at that particular time. The only thing left with me to do is to send a voice note to a friend that lives in the United States. And she's the person that sent it to Kadaki and it started hitting the social media away. However people see that, I mean, one guy was trying to tell me I was trying to seek political gain, but I'm not a politician. You understand? The only thing I try to keep abreast with, it is what is before me now. It is that constitutional matter. That's the only thing that interests me. You understand? So what I'm trying to do is for Guyanese, me and by Guyanese. But what happened to me last night was no joke. It was no joke, Sharon, because I had prepared myself mentally to accept what came after. I didn't think about
Gavin, who, in your estimation, who, in your view, would have detained you last evening, and for what purpose do you think?
Sheridan, your show. I don't want to say. I would say it still. The only thing I would think about is this same regime, the PPP regime, and they would organize whosoever wanted to pick me up to take me there to terrorize. That was the only thing I can think of. Because I'm saying that they tried it a couple of weeks ago on Facebook, where somebody said I was detained. I had to go live on Facebook to tell everybody, no, I wasn't detained, I wasn't picked up, I wasn't arrested. You understand? And that's the only people I can think of because these people represent the PPP and their interests. And I wouldn't make no comments to talk about it. They are the culprit. Because the guy who came to make sure that either I live or die said one thing is either I continue to show or die, or I stop and I gain my freedom. Well, I said to him in plain words, he said, well, best you kill me here one time because it makes no sense. It doesn't make any sense. I will continue all the time. I ain't got time for talk about any other nonsense. I'm serious about my country. Whether you don't like me or not, whether you're PPP or PNC or APNU or not, this is my country. And if nobody stands up for it, Sharon, I mean, I'm not indicating you. Somebody has to stand up for it. Somebody has to take the mantle and take it to a position where people must respect our constitution. It doesn't matter I live or die. The fact is that the truth must prevail. We must have a democratic system. I'm not fighting for this for only you, Sharon. Other people are fighting for my children, and their friends, and their children's children, and everybody, whatever ethnic group you come from. That is my choice. And I accept the consequences that comes with it. That's what I want everybody to know. Sorry, Sharon, I'm
Um,
emotional.
no,
You know?
and as can be expected, Gavin, could you tell us whether you would have thus far might have made a police report, whether you are going
Yeah,
to seek maybe
yeah.
to take
I made a
these persons to court if you recognize them, that kind of thing?
yes. I made a police report. It's transferred to the Tamari station. I have to go up there tomorrow to continue that report. I went to Turkine today to make that report, and I was told that I got to go up to Tamari in the morning to continue on that report because it'll be transferred there since the incident happened on the Linden Suicide Highway. The detention, and all these things, right? So I got to go up there.
Gavin, is there anything else about this whole episode that you might want to share with us in terms of how it might have impacted you over the last 24 hours? And perhaps outside of the legal recourse, I mean, you've already talked about not stopping the work, the activism that you are doing, whether on social media or otherwise. But what comes next for those persons who might be concerned about your future?
The only thing that comes next is to advocate for change in the system in which we do business as politicians. Because it seems to me, sure, that it's not coming, it's not getting anywhere. We need to change the way in which we do politics in here to represent others, to represent Guyanese. I'm not saying that politicians are not doing it, but we need to demand a change as a people for politicians to represent us. and to come out and represent us when things like these happen. We need to do that. I don't need that's why I came on social media. That's why I come out this morning. I don't need nobody to go and burn down and terrorize and tear up the place. I need people to come out and protest and demand this constitutional right for themselves. If we can't get our leaders to do it, that's the change we need within our own self to get that to be done. And just what you see on the screen here that you're putting up, that is what needs to happen. If you voted for somebody to be a part of the NDC, and the de facto regime come with somebody who has less votes than them and installs them there, that is not a democratic change. That is not a democracy. It's an authoritarian. And we cannot accept that all the time. When it doesn't matter who party is in power. These are things we need to demand as a people. Because Guyana is not a third world anymore, as I may see it. It's a rising power within the South American continent and the Caribbean because of its resources. We need to take cognizance of all these things and hold our politicians accountable, Sharon. And that's the only way we should see change in this country. If we keep going back to the same system, it makes no sense. I'm not hearing you. Something is wrong with the.
Gavin, let's talk a little bit about that. And that's why I brought this photograph up, because here are these folks at Agatash in Bartica Region 7 who were part of a community development council exercise to elect their own leaders. The PPP didn't like the leaders they elect, and so they have quashed the whole affair. Not only that, some of those citizens in Agatash are also part of the community policing group, the Agatash Community Policing Group. They have basically the PPP, that is, the installed PPP, suspended the entire community policing group. These people serve their community as volunteers, policing their neighborhoods, patrolling their neighborhoods. The PPP have suspended the community policing group simply because they were exercising their constitutional right. What are your thoughts about
it? Sharon, here we go again with the same thing. As long where it comes with the constitutional rights of an individual or a citizen of this country, the PPP has no respect for that. They do not want you to exercise your constitutional rights. So they will go out all means to say, if you do not accept our way in which we want to do things, well, then you will be booted out. And eventually, you know what happens? They always come up with an IMC, Interim Management Committee. You see, they canceled that whole system there. That's what they're going to come up with. Because the minister is going to say it's within his right. If a body cannot act according to what they are constitutionally designed to do, then I have to replace them with a body that can do that work. And that's why we need a separation of the Ministry of Local Government and these local government bodies, because at the end of the day, you end up like the mayor. The mayor could only say what he wants to say. But constitutionally, the Ministry of Local Government looks over him. And Sherrod, you know that. The ministry even pays him his salary. So it's like nothing he can do. There we saw the same thing with the engineer department, not requesting a revisit of a document or something from the mayor to go and break down somebody's home in North Rumpel. So we're seeing the same thing here over and over with these representational communities, because it's always been shared with representational seats. And you find that people who are now advocating the right to vote in their own body would not be given that process because the people don't like them, or the people don't like the people who they're voting for. But that's what the local government is for. The local government is for the local people in the community to represent the community, not for those who doesn't live outside of the community. In my community, you see the same thing. You see people coming all the way from Borbis to build roads and bridges. And the people in the community are not employed. They're not even given contracts. It's the same thing you see over and over and over again.
Yep. Very well said, Gavin. And that's why I want to draw members of the public attention again to another local government issue. This time, this is at Kildonan and Bushlot, Region 5, where a farmer is complaining that one of the main drainage canals is not being cleaned, that service the farmers there, even though a contract was given to an individual. Again, this is a local government issue because it falls under the NDC, the RDC, their Region 5,
Mm-hmm.
and they are complaining that it's the people that the PPP has given the contract to
So,
that
yes.
is not performing as they should in this matter. Thoughts?
And, and you see there again, Sheriff, it tells you what these people are all about. Look at that. The only thing that stops this is because of social media. You know, years ago, you'd have to take a television station to go up there and to view that and to let everybody see what's going on. Now social media is right there. So these are the things now people have been coming afraid with. They're being informed of what is going on. Look at that, all our land, because of the clog of the main drainage canal, all these things got to be backed up. So farmers getting problem in farming and producing produce. Just because there's somebody within the local government that issues contract, or within that NDC or the RDC that issues contract to their PPP body, who doesn't even care about the casual or the constant maintenance of that drainage canal. And people are now complaining, and the people don't like it because of their own, and it is their own constituencies that is complaining, you know. From since people get to realize that you can take a smartphone out and you can video and you can send it so people can see what is going on, it becomes a definite problem for this particular administration, this terrorist administration, because they just don't care. They do not care. It is a fact. They don't care about us. They don't care about their own supporters. They don't care about anyone. They care about themselves and the people who they can gain from. So those people who are fighting for their rights to be heard, especially a drainage canal or certain places to be cleared so they can continue farming produce, they got to wait a long time, because you better believe it. The minister might, the de facto minister might want to be there until next month. That is if he chooses to go there, or if he chooses to send somebody there from the drainage and irrigation department, just to make sure that that particular part is being viewed to the person who's gained that contract to clean that area. This is accountability. I'm getting a problem with your audio. I'm not hearing you.
Let's turn our attention to COVID, Gavin, because we consistently see an installed administration that continues to breach its own protocol measures, its own protocols, its own restrictions to prevent the spread of COVID-19. I'm just going to walk you through some of them. This is Darmlal during Pagwa celebration. Of course, there were strict guidelines in Pagwa. You should observe social distancing. You should wear your mask. This is Minister Darmlal during that period. This is the Attorney General, the installed Attorney General. This is Anil Nandilal, again during COVID celebration. It's during Pagwa celebrations, rather. No social distancing, no mask. This is Deodat Indar. Same period, not wearing a mask, right? Not social distancing by any means here. And nobody's being prosecuted. Nobody's being brought before the court. Nobody's being fined. Nobody's being reprimanded by the catfish installed administration. And over this weekend, this was Mr. Housing and Water, Colin Crowell, in, I think this was Muruka, at a birthday celebration at the waterfront.
Where he was arrested.
No social distancing, no mask. Are these people leading by example? Obviously not, Gavin.
You know what amazed me, Sharon, is that you put so many restrictions on between Easter Friday to Easter Monday for people to stay home and not go on the road and socialize. But these restrictions did not add to the Pagwa celebration. You hear nothing about it. Tell me exactly, how do people see things now? All these restrictions. Imagine I'm home and I heard that you can't go and gather in group on the seawall and fly kites and so on, because it's a serious restriction. You can't find doing that because you'll be locked up. Because the army bus driving around the place with a lot of soldiers, making sure that people don't gather themselves in groups. And during the Pagwa celebration, we didn't have this. It's not only a double standard, but it's leaving you out open to danger. For instance, look at West Demerara. They had an outbreak. One student caused an entire class with teachers and parents had to end up making an appointment to do a COVID-19 test. Look at Providence Primary. You understand? The same thing. And we do not understand the dangers of these things. We've seen it
Gavin,
all
this is
over the place.
talking about double standards. This is a party that was put on by the Region 2 regional chairman, one Velma De Silva, who recently hosted a party for her family members, in which, again, no social distancing, scores of persons are at this party, no social distancing, no mask. And this is a PPPite, Velma De Silva of Region 2, Pamaroon Supernam. Again, when do these people get their day in court? When are they reprimanded by their government? When are they held accountable? And this is a government who tries to preach accountability, transparency, and good governance. And I've shown you cases where ministers have breached COVID-19 protocol. Nothing is said. You have now regional administrators who are breaching COVID-19 protocol. Nothing is done.
And we also have persons who are carriers of the virus and going into homes, their own homes, and infecting persons that they don't even know that they're doing because of these simple instances. These kinds of non-regard to health issues pertaining to the COVID-19 virus. Nothing at all. They have no regards for it. And it will continue to happen. It will continue, Sherrod. And you know what? We can talk all we want. This is what will happen. And this is how it will spread even more. And it will get out of hand. And you know what? There's nothing we can do about it because we don't even have a proper health system to give you a full functionary report. We don't have a proper tracking system to track those who are infected on your household. We don't even have a proper isolation system. The hospital is now telling you to go home, find a room within the house in which you live in to isolate yourself and to keep them, call them to, and then you're coming into them, you got to keep calling them to at least inform them about your health stage. Suppose when it's 9 and you living in one house and it's a 2-bedroom house, so how are you going to isolate yourself? These are instances that will pop up, unrecognizable to us because we are not paying attention. We don't want to pay attention. It makes no sense because we don't care. I mean, I'm not talking about you and I, but I'm talking about the system in which this de facto administration is producing every single day. And they're destroying the lives of Guyanese, much as to those who are being sent home and are on the breadline and cannot afford these things. And then you, for one person, is not only infecting the workplace, but infecting your home. And if you don't have a job and you're infected, how would you know? Because you ain't got $30,000 to go pay a test. You got to make an appointment at the Georgetown Hospital. And when with that appointment, you haven't known. These are the things we're running into.
And Gavin, that is precisely the dilemma of some teachers currently who teach at the Providence Primary School. No fault of our own. The head teacher has come down with COVID-19. Absolutely no fault of our own, one would hope. No fault of our own. But what is the ministry doing? The teachers have said that nobody at the ministry has been in official contact with them. You talked about the cost of private testing and having to, submit yourself for an appointment otherwise to be tested. And even though they have that at their disposal, they have not been told whether to resume usual duties at school, which is coming in and sorting through the books that they have to distribute to the kids. Then they have to go into those communities where the children live and give out those books. So they are now concerned
Not
not for their own
not
safety, but
only that,
also for the safety of the communities.
and
That
not
that,
only
it, that,
that,
that
after this diagnosis that you have here, a day after the teachers had a social. So they mingled among themselves with the same head teacher. And then there were also parents in the compound, in that building. And the reason why I can say so, because my better half works there. You understand? So I had to end up saying, this is craziness. You understand? So I'm saying now,
yes,
where does the Ministry of Health comes in to make this a working uh, health issue so you can assist persons who might come down with it? Where is it? And another thing too I wanna take on Sherrod is that they're supposed to in the overseas based diaspora. I've been finding out more of this COVID-19 thing. People are advised to take another particular diet in order to make the immune system stronger, to eradicate this virus from yourself. We don't have that system here. Do we have a nutrition to talk to people who are COVID-19 positive or who work through that particular period and not COVID-19 anymore? Because people need to understand COVID-19 doesn't come on you like that. It is pertaining to what you consume, because I've been reading about it all the time. You understand? It's based upon your immune system and what you consume. What kind of foods can you eat to better strengthen the immune system to keep these antibodies from you or to prevent you from being a carrier? What is the de facto minister of health saying? And what does the de facto minister of education, because all she could talk about is thinking how to send children back to school, but has no system in place. Where you can tell me you got to stand by the schoolyard with a couple of pipes you got thrown on and watch and a security guard with a thermometer or what you call it, a temperature check. It can't work. What happens to the child who comes in with a temperature check and it's normal? By the time she goes to class, the temperature check is through the roof because the COVID-19 just take over in our system. What happens to that child or his or her system? What is the preservations being made? Do we do a check every month or every 2 months? What is the preservations made for all these things? They are not telling me, in case this happens, this is what I can help to do with your child. And even if you don't have the responsibility or the cash, the liquidity, or the resource to help that child out in home, is the ministry making other preservations for that? Is there financial assistance being available? Is there some food assistance being available? What is it? Especially if that child's mom or dad doesn't have a job. They're not finding out all these things, you
correct,
know?
Gavin. I want to direct our attention to some other issues that have been in the news. Some other issues, folks. And folks, for instance, at the Guyana Revenue Authority have been talking to us, and they want to know why is it that there were folks, as we know, there was that huge Belgium bus, 11 tons of cocaine shipped out of Guyana to Belgium, and there was an investigation concerning the scanner and the photographs that were deleted. Whoever they would have contracted to do that work would have told us or told the nation that there were thousands of photographs deleted that were recovered. Today, we have not seen one of those photographs. There are staff members at GRA who are telling us, Gavin, members of the public, that persons who had no contact with the scanner or the photographs were sent home, were dismissed from GRA, while persons who had contact with the scanner are still on the job. What madness is this?
You know, I'll be honest with you, Sherrod. Uh, I don't know where we're going as a country. It's sad to say that we are actually a failed state because it doesn't matter what this de facto administration does. There's no plans to put in place for the development of the working force, for the honesty of the public system, and the balance and check or checks and balances. They don't want to be audited. They don't want to be checked up upon. So their intention is to create a system where they have complete control over, and they don't care about what you think. That's why I'm saying to Guyanese over and over and over again. Now is the time to hold these people accountable, because this is how an illegal administration acts. When you're illegal, there's nothing that you want to be legal. You want the system to remain the way how you want it because nobody can challenge it. When you're legal, then you will want checks and balances. Then you can use the Constitution to make sure you want to make a menace out to somebody. Now, for you to do that, you're challenged. The only thing for you to do now is send people home. Because if it, and you know, Sharad, if I may at this point in, one thing I appreciate what Mr. Granger did when he was president of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana. He made every public official know the constitution of their office. It doesn't matter where you are, what office you hold. He made sure that you knew what governs your office, what is your actions, what is the constitutional actions of your office. So when you don't operate and act in that way, you'll be held in dereliction of your office. You understand? And now, it doesn't work in this particular system. That's why they're having problems. Because if they want to send somebody home now, you end up either, especially those who know the constitutional rights of their office, you end up either settling with it out of court or in court, like Mr. Harmon did. You understand? Or you either get somebody to toe the line and you want to get rid of the other person because you don't like people who stand up for their office. So these things that you see happen at the GRA, Ghana Revenue Authority, believe you me, it will happen all the time, especially in the enforcement division. Because that's the division that everybody pays attention to.
Gavin, one wonders in other news if this government is governing or this country just sailing along. The Ghana Fire Service, there are persons who wrote the exams for the Ghana Fire Service, and we need good firemen and firewomen. Persons who wrote the exam December 2020, their pass grade or employment was approved on January 29th. And to date, they are complaining that the Ministry of Home Affairs on the ropes and bend have not acknowledged, those have not acknowledged their promotions, to date. Is this a country? Is this how you manage a country?
They know nothing about management. And if you talk about Mr. Ben, I don't think that these people know what they're doing. I mean, they were in government. They had it for 23 years. He was Minister of Public Service then. Yes, it's public service. But the thing is that they don't know how to approach certain things. And they will have all these backlogs keep piling up because they don't have time to sit down and review them. Even if they don't have time, they don't have the person to put in place to review all these backlogs and to improve them so we can have proper employment in the police force, in the fire service, in the prisons. You can have proper staff. You know.
So it's incompetence. It's incompetence from the top right down.
Full incompetence from the top right down. Full incompetence, because I figure out the only thing just like how his boss, the de facto vice president, can say the opposition comes to parliament only to eat. He goes to work just to sleep. That's what he's doing as a minister, de facto minister of Home Affairs. That's why you got to wake these people up, because they are not qualified for the job that they hold. Seriously, I want to know what does he does with what. I mean, he knows his position, I'm sure, because he has a PS, a permanent secretary, to advise him on all these different things. Every one of them, but their intention is to go to work to drop to sleep and to wake up and to go back home. And the only when you hear their mouth is when something else comes up that is important, puts them out in the limelight. Then they comes out there to sit down and to tell you, well, I think it was going around this, because they don't have a clue. They do not. They end up like the Minister of Health. He does not have a clue. We have a failing health system.
Gavin,
Everything is
and
failing.
it's also when you have a panoramic view of the system because of the information you receive. Again, you wonder whether this government is up to the task, whether they're able and ready. And the answer is a resounding no each and every time. You have, for instance, people contacting us, from the prison system, family members who say that within the context of the law, their relative and friend might have served their time, the board of parole would have met, and these issues are not being brought to a finality. And so you attend a parole hearing, for instance, you might have been approved or what have you, and still persons can't know either way if they're going to see their family members after they have served their time, in terms of being paroled. And these are persons who would have been picked up for small offenses.
And you know
Not what
what?
we see in December when 65 prisoners were released, and among them you got cocaine traffickers and murderers and rapists
Right,
and all of that.
right. There we go again, Sharon. When Mr. Granger's government, when the APNU government had put those systems in place, when this de facto administration took over, you know what they did? They canceled all of those systems. You know what? You know why? Because they say it's a political appointment and it doesn't make sense. So eventually, everything now becomes a backlog. For a simple parole hearing, these systems were put in place, but just because they came in at a time when there is a different government, everything got to be squashed. And they cannot revisit it back. There's no there's no apparatus to replace it. And that is what is taking me off because you got the people who qualified. You have them. Why would you send them home to do what? These are not these are not public gazetted officers in public places. You understand? These are simple public servants who are being hired to do a job because the vacancy was available. Look in the what should I say? Community Development Council, the CDC. They sent home everybody for their political appointment. Now they employ people to occupy the same place with less experience. We got bar managers and rum shop owners, PSs, and public officials who are passing decisions they have no clue of.
And I totally agree with you there, Gavin. Totally agree with you. Our final issue for the night, Gavin. Our final issue for the night. You have people at Mabaruma who, like so many other Guyanese, would have told us over this weekend that only some people get the COVID cash grant, right? And for the majority of other persons who are not PVP supporters, they get the pink slip. They said that they would have gone back to those people with the pink slip to give them the money because they would have now verified and so on. We're still waiting. And as you talk about backlog and inefficiency and bureaucracy in the government, this is another demonstration of that. People are still holding the pink slip in their hands to date, eight
Sharon,
months into the new
let me
administration. And these were funds, these were monies that were approved 2 budget cycles ago.
Sharon, I want to say this, and I want to tell most people who are still looking forward to that COVID cash grant, you're going to have to wait a little bit more longer for that because there's no guarantee that you'll be getting it. There's no intention for you to receive it. You know why? Because the onus is upon them to give every qualified Guyanese. Qualified means over the age of 18. They have no intentions to giving 450,000 people $25,000. That is why they say they're going to give every qualified household. Because as long as you're paying rent and you're not the owner, they're not going to give you anything unless you're a supporter of them. and we can make how much noise we want. Don't look forward to it, because to me, it's a waste of Guyanese time, it's a waste of energy, and there's nothing in the future saying that you can get it next month, next week, early next year. There's nothing. There's nothing. It's proper. It's not proper. It's not being accountable all over again. You ask these same questions, you go to the Ministry of Finance, you ask these same questions, there's nothing nobody can tell you, because that's the ministry it falls under. As a matter of fact, that ministry comes under the Ministry of the Presidency, because they are the persons who are in charge of the Office of Financial Affairs. So for you to go and ask them anything right now, they ain't gonna tell you, and they ain't gonna tell you nothing, because they're not open to accountability. They would never be open to accountability. They're a de facto regime. They're illegal. They were never duly elected. It's a terrorist regime that is ruling our country. That is why we're having problems with them. They want to be recognized.
Well said, Gavin.
It's a
Well
hard thing
said.
for them to be recognized. Yes, thank you very much, Sharon,
Gavin, thanks very
for
much for
having me on this
stopping by
program.
this evening. And not
Yeah,
only helping to walk through and make sense of some of these issues that are current, but also for sharing that harrowing situation that you were caught up in over this weekend by, as you said, this very illegal and installed administration. And I would only say that while we are all prepared to die for what we believe in, I think it was Colin Powell who said that when you're sending a soldier to the front of the battle to spend his life, it must be for a good cause. And so I want to encourage you to let us, because all of us are caught up in this struggle, continue to be vigilant,
yeah,
my brother,
yes.
vigilant.
And owe your allegiance to the Constitution.
Yeah.
That's what we need to start doing as a
Yeah.
country. That is the only way we would understand that supreme law, that document that we call the Constitution. I don't let me don't take up the time, Sharon, but I want to thank you
Yeah.
very much for allowing me on your show, and it's a pleasure to sit here and to talk with you and members of your audience, so you can know that we're on that same level, same field. Thank you very much.
Thanks for stepping in the ring,
Wish you
Gavin.
well.
Stay safe.
Yeah, you too. Be
Folks,
careful.
and there you have it. Gavin Matthews there of the Gavin Matthews Show. And I commend his show to you. He comes on social media before our show at 8. I think he's on from 6:30 to 8 o'clock. And our thoughts and prayers are going to continue to be with Gavin, and we're going to support him in whatever way is needed as he continues to do what only he can do in his own unique style. Folks, coming up this week, as you know, every morning I am on in the Zoom in from 9 to 10 on Zoom. This is going to be, it's usually on my page. You can get the information from my page, or you can we can talk one-on-one. We can zoom in on your issues of concern in the mornings from 9 to 10. On Wednesday, folks, on Wednesday, we have the zoom in rather, 9 to 10 every day during the week. On Wednesday, we have diaspora, or in the diaspora focus on Wednesday, the Wednesday program. In the ring, we're in the diaspora on Wednesday, and we have a good panel already set for you on Wednesday. And on Thursday, it's our Talk Back Day. Thursday is Talk Back Thursday, and we are streamlining that program for you as well. I'm going to see you tomorrow night. Continue to social distance, wear your mask, sanitize, stay safe, folks. Your family and you are in our thoughts and our prayers during this harrowing time too in our nation's history, with COVID-19 being so pervasive and a government that just don't care. Stay safe, folks, and thanks for joining us this evening. Do take care. Stay safe.